Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, September 17, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. House Republicans voted, along with 8 Democrats, to let 14-year-olds be charged as adults in Washington, D.C. That's right, 14 years old. 8 Democrats voted with Republicans. 1 Republican voted against this bill. Attorney Scott Bolden will be joining us to talk about this here. The family of Demartravion Trey Reed is demanding answers after his mysterious death at Delta State University. Now the school's conflicting reports are raising even more questions. On Capitol Hill, Kash Patel goes before the House, and CongresswomenJasmine Crockett and Sydney Kamlager-Dowe lit into his trifling ass, calling him the least qualified in the Bureau's history and saying white supremacy has flourished under his watch. So, progressive media host Ezra Klein sits down with right-wing nutcase Ben Shapiro discussing his book, and what comes up is Barack Obama, race, and birtherism. Watching it, it was pretty despicable. And I'm not just talking about Shapiro. And Vibe Magazine, what the hell is wrong with y'all? How do y'all run a story saying Dame Dash is going to be the chair of Revolt, and you never call Revolt, and the story is still up? Yeah, I'm calling y'all out too. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin.
Last night, House Republicans approved a bill that would let 14-year-olds in Washington, D.C. be charged as adults for serious crimes, the lowest age threshold in the region. The move is part of Donald Trump's sweeping effort to toughen what he says, to toughen D.C. crime laws and expand federal power. Here's what is in H.R. 5140, okay? To lower the age at which a minor may be tried as an adult for certain criminal offenses in the District of Columbia to 14 years of age. The minimum age drops from 16 to 14 for adult prosecution. The transfer to criminal court for juveniles is reduced as well, and these changes will apply to any crimes committed after the laws take effect. The legislation will also cap sentencing breaks for youth at 18, broaden police pursuit powers, and give Donald Trump direct authority to appoint Washington, D.C. judges, removing the city's independent nominating commission. Now here's a look at the one Republican who voted no, Kentucky's Thomas Massie. He was a lone GOP dissenter on both the crime and juvenile sentencing bills. Democrats who voted yes are Henry Cuellar, Texas, Black Caucus member Donald Davis of North Carolina. And y'all gonna call him in a second, control room, because I wanna know why in the hell he voted yes. Laura Gillen, New York. No, put him back. Jared Golden of Maine. Susie Lee, Nevada. David Min, California. Malik Glusenkamp Perez, Washington State. Eugene Simon Vindman, Virginia. Yeah. Now, here are the Democrats who did not vote on the bill. Okay? Who did not vote. Now remember, we're talking about, okay, guys, hold up. Okay, we have Don Davis saying he didn't vote as 8, and now he's on here. Okay, are two separate bills? Why do we have them in two different graphics? Need y'all to explain. Okay. Okay, well, you pull the last graphic up. That's Don Davis of North Carolina. Pull the next graphic up. That's the same photo, guys. That's not Dina Titus of Nevada, okay? That's Don Davis. I know who the hell Don Davis is, all right? Okay, Adam Gray of California, Mikey Shapiro, who's running for governor of New Jersey, Dina Titus of Nevada, all right? Now remember, there were two different bills, and so that's what you have going on here. Texas Republican Brandon Gill introduced the bill, pushing further than any neighboring state by removing judicial review for minors charged as adults, meaning a 14-year-old could face adult court with no chance for appeal. Scott Bolden joins us right now. He's attorney here in D.C. Scott, first of all, what do you make of this? And walk us through, what crimes are they talking about?
They're talking about, as written, the most violent crimes, violent armed robberies, murders, carjackings where there's a physical injury. The problem with their description is that with the U.S. Attorney for D.C., Jean Piero, I think her name is, a former judge and former prosecutor, but a Fox News personality. Prosecutors have great discretion. And so when they charge a 14-year-old who may be part of an armed robbery, but there's no injury, the Republicans want to just lock them up as adults, put them in adult penitentiaries if they're convicted, and throw the key away. They want to give up on them at 14 years old. Man, at 14 years old, your heart and mind and brain hasn't even developed enough. If you're part of the least, the lost, or the left out, we're just not going to give them another chance if they're part of a violent crime, right? And the Youth Offenders Act, the one thing you didn't talk about was that the Youth Offenders Act, they lose these young people. Instead of being able to get a youth offender treatment up to 24, they've reduced that to 18. So now we're going to just lock them up, warehouse them, and throw away the key. We know research, and it's cited by the Washington Post, is the kids who are in juvenile detention are more likely than not to be recidivists than those when you lock them up with adult population. Because when you lock them up with adult population, they become adults real quick, and they learn from adults real quick. And they may be abused by adults real quick. And then when they get out, if they get out, they've got a felony record. It's not private because it's not juvenile. And what is their way forward, if you will? There's no way forward for most of them who are poor and disenfranchised. And so it is, again, the Republican view of this is to just lock them up. But we know that doesn't solve crime. For example, D.C. has the highest rate of incarceration per capita of any urban major center. And guess what? We still got crime. Donald Trump still federalized the police and brought out the National Guard, and now the National Guard is gone, and we still have crime. So locking them up isn't the answer. It's a continuum of care in regard to crime prevention programs. Oh, I'm sorry. They cut $800 million from crime prevention programs for major urban centers, so they don't believe in that either. It's unbelievable. It really is.
See, Scott, the deal here is simple. They know they can screw with D.C.
Yeah.
That's all this is. That's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, no doubt. And because of that, Mayor Muriel Bowser has had to toe the line or thread the needle and what have you. Half the city wants her to fight because, remember, statehood and self-determination is always on the line in D.C. And we've got a lot of it, but we don't have statehood. We don't have a vote in Congress. We don't have U.S. senators. And let me just tell you this. Before you start blaming the Republicans for that, the Democrats have controlled all three houses on at least two occasions, under Barack Obama and under Bill Clinton, and D.C. still didn't get statehood or even greater rights than they should have with Democratic control. So as a former state party chair, I often say, at least we know where the Republicans are. Their vote for hell no. But the Democrats pay lip service to it. They put it in your Democratic platform, but they've done nothing to effectuate it, period.
So, Scott, this is the Washington Post story.
Yeah.
It says right here that there were two bills. 31 Democrats joined Republicans in voting to restrict judges from having discretion to dole out lighter sentences to young people.
So they have mandatory minimums now.
Right.
That means the judge has no discretion. If it calls for a mandatory minimum of 10 years or 20 years, the judge has to go with that. Statutorily.
So 31 Democrats voted for mandatory minimums. 8 voted alongside Republicans to allow 14-year-olds to be charged as adults. Now, it goes to the Senate where the filibuster requires 60 votes to advance. And then what it says here, the notable Democratic support for at least one of the bills, largely from lawmakers facing competitive re-election races, underscores D.C.'s vulnerability in Congress. And here's the whole deal. Okay, these vulnerable Democrats, but you don't want Washington, D.C. telling y'all what to do in your state.
Right. They're in vulnerable states and they want to appear to be hard on crime. They've got some tough re-elections because they've got some Trump voters and MAGA voters in their districts. And so there's no repercussions or no prejudice to them to use D.C. as a whipping block, if you will, or a whipping boy. They can vote for this, but they wouldn't vote for it in their own jurisdiction, though. And D.C. historically has always had these elected officials, Senate and Republicans, who experiment with the district with absolutely no voter repercussion. And so whether they're with the CBC or whether they're Hispanic, if they're in a tough re-election, this is an easy vote for them, politically at least. But I got to tell you, when they take away the Attorney General and Trump gets to appoint his own person as Attorney General, because right now the Attorney General is elected, and when he's taken away the D.C. Judicial Commission, which is a commission of judges as well as leading lawyers in D.C. who vet candidates who then go to Norton, Congresswoman Norton, and then go to the White House, right? That's a very important vetting process. You're going to take that away, so now Trump is just going to appoint his people. And so as a result, DC's, at least those who govern and oversight, they're not taking away self-determination or home rule, but they're taking away large parts of it. And I got to tell you, before it's over, why would he stop here with criminal justice? That just happens to be the flavor of the day. By the time within 4 years, why doesn't he just take it? He just takes home rule away, and it sets up a commission to run D.C. like it was before we got home rule, I believe in 1972 and 1976. And so as a result, we're very vulnerable right now. And here's again, what do you say all the time, Roland? Elections matter, voting matters, and America is getting just what she voted for, at least the majority of Americans. It's just unbelievable. He telegraphed what he was going to do. It's all in the 25th Foundation or whatever that 25th piece is, but it's all in there in his campaign. He told them, they voted anyway, And now a lot of people are saying, well, wait, we didn't vote for authoritarianism. Yes, you did. That's exactly what you voted for, or you stayed home and didn't vote. So now we're living those repercussions.
And they also, of course, are trying to target the bail system. They want to detain all people before trial who are charged with violent or dangerous crimes while bringing back cash bail in certain cases.
And we know that doesn't work because the Johns Hopkins study, when Marilyn Mosby, former client of mine, tried it in Baltimore, Johns Hopkins researched it, looked at the numbers, and said that not prosecuting people for marijuana and prostitution and going without and letting them back on the street with certain programs, they were less likely to not come back to court. They would come back to court. They were less likely to be recidivism and move forward with a cashless bail system or a no bail system. So the research just counters all of these political myths the Republicans tell themselves. They just really do. In fact, the really bad issue is we know that, as the Washington Post cited, young people put into adult penitentiaries are more likely to become recidivists than if they matriculate through the juvenile system, where they have programs to support them, and you got a shot at them if they're 14 or 12 or 10 or 16. This process that we're about to go through with the Republicans is inhumane, if you ask me. They just don't care, and they're going to warehouse them, and they're going to come out of jail and more than likely commit more crimes. Take that, Republicans. That's your crime prevention policy. It's a failure. It's dead on arrival.
All right, Scott Bolden. We'll see what happens in the United States Senate.
All right, man.
Thanks a bunch.
Pray for our people. Pray for our people.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network, what's happening? It's your man, Kim. And look, my new single, Rock With Me, is on fire. We debuted as the #1 most added and greatest gainer at R&B radio. So look, I want you to go check it out at musicbykim.com. Listen to it, download it, tell me what you think about it. Also, make sure you sign up to be a part of my community so we can stay connected. At Music by Kim on all social media platforms. Thank you for rocking with me. And keep love on the one.
'Cause I want you to rock with me. We live in a strange world till the darkness falls forever. Baby, let's be the dawn. When it feels like it's taking me over, you're making me stronger, my sweet love.
This week on the other side of change.
Hurricane Katrina, 20 years later. Cannot believe that it's been more than 20 years since we saw Black people and Black communities across New Orleans and the South being failed by our government. But it's a harrowing lesson. We're going to unpack how race and class intersect in ways and how we need to talk about this government doing more for our communities. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
Hey, this is Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. That boy, he always unfiltered, though. I ain't never known him to be filtered. Is there another way to experience Roland Martin than to be unfiltered? Of course he's unfiltered. Would you expect anything less? Watch what happens next.
Let's go to our panel. Andrew Clark, attorney, managing partner, District Legal Group out of D.C. Rebecca Carruthers, president and CEO, Fair Election Center out of D.C. Raven Schwam Curtis, content creator, keynote speaker out of Chicago. Andrew, I'll start with you. Listen, Republicans don't care. They do not care about recidivism. They do not care about rehabilitation. All they care about is lock them up, throw away the key. They don't care. So they don't give a damn who they throw in jail. It's all about we're tough. But then they don't want to even pay for stuff. It shows you how insane these people are.
Yeah, for them to decide that now they're going to include the age bracket of 14 to 16-year-olds in possible adult crimes is insane, given the fact that they've cut DC's budget by $1 billion. I have heard nothing about what's going to be the plan for the fact that there will be this influx of cases in adult court, what they're going to do about possibly housing more juveniles that are going to be charged by adults. Because let's be honest, Jean Pirro has made it absolutely clear from the beginning that she wants to target the youth in DC. Now, I know a lot has been made about the curfew, but that's where it started, right? DC does not have safe places for youth to go at night. I grew up in New York, and I had places like the mall. I had places to go and ride rides, to play games. These youth do not have that. And those that are not just sitting at home playing video games, but they want to be out and be social, they don't have a place to do that right now, not safely. So instead of investing resources in that for DC youth, they're choosing to prosecute them and to place them in jail at a very vulnerable time in their life. And this is just wrong.
It is. And Rebecca, I mean, what we're dealing with individuals who do not give a damn about young Black youth. They don't want to actually fund the very things that can deal with crime. Their philosophy with everything is prison, prison, and more prison.
So a few things, Roland. For the audience to know that there are no federal prisons inside of the District of Columbia. So what that means is if you are sentenced to prison time and you are a DC resident, you are shipped across the country in various states into the federal prisons that are in those particular states. And something to note, especially under the administration that we're in, is that if you are a for-profit prison, and you are trying to increase revenue and you are trying to be profitable, there's only two ways in business that you could be profitable. You either have to increase revenue or you have to decrease cost. Ultimately, you choose to increase revenue and decrease costs at the same time to make as much profit as possible. So when we're talking about for-profit prisons, what that means is in order to increase profit, that means more people have to be locked up. To continue to increase profit year over year, that means every single year, more people have to get exceedingly locked up compared to the previous year. So when you have different diversion programs, which is intended to decrease the number of people in prison going into the penal system, guess what? That is the antithesis of for-profit prisons. I understand under President Biden, there was a move to remove for-profit prisons on the federal level. However, we're under a different administration that's putting profit over people.
Of course, this is how Fox News always spins these things, Raven. This is the headline. Dozens of House Dems vote against crackdown on D.C. youth crime after Trump backs off Capitol Police. The bills were led by Representative Byron Donalds and Brandon Gill, respectively.
My goodness. I mean, the spin is just so deeply nefarious, I think, especially in a moment where Republicans have been fighting tooth and nail for the pedophiles in the Epstein files not to be held to account, right? So y'all are fighting to protect pedophiles, but you don't want to protect children. You don't want to give children who have been caught up in a bad situation, likely because they've been under-resourced, to have recourse for that. It's just deeply, deeply harmful in terms of an approach to crime and how we address that in a way that's meaningful and addresses the root source. I also want to talk about Texas Republican Brandon Gill specifically, because he brought this bill, for consideration. And I just find it very rich because this individual was just in trouble for breaking the law himself, for not disclosing $500,000 in cryptocurrency that he purchased, which he was required to disclose by a certain deadline under the Stock Act. So, it's really just funny to me. It's always, not for me, but always for thee, right? The rules don't apply to them, but they apply to us tenfold, 20-fold, 30-fold. The last thing I think is really important to name here is the point about Trump being able to appoint judges, right? So we know that he's been complaining nonstop about these quote unquote woke judges, which is essentially his way of saying that judges are not making decisions aligned with his personal agenda. to me, this feels like a more direct pathway for him to enact his authoritarianism, right? So now he doesn't have to go through the process of things like where the LA judge said that ICE was running operations that were unconstitutional, and then having to essentially cut that off at the knees with the Supreme Court, that higher court decision negating that lower court decision. Now he can just go directly and choose the judges himself. So this is really about consolidating power, criminalizing Black and brown people, and doing so unapologetically.
Well, that is the case. And Rebecca, those Democrats who voted for mandatory minimums got some explaining to do.
Absolutely. And even if you felt like you were going to be in a contentious election next year, guess what? It is September 2025. That means you have 14 months to go knock on doors and explain to people why you decided to make sure that DC actually have rights that matter, to make sure that you weren't going to lock up 14-year-old children in these federal prisons with general population. And something that you mentioned earlier, Roland, is that and even Scott mentioned, it's the harm that happens when you have a 14-year-old in general pop with adults. I think Scott was very kind with how he said, oh, these kids will be attacked. But let's say what it is. These kids will be raped repeatedly over and over. These kids will also become hardened criminals that these particular folks on the Hill are claiming that they are already, and they are not. Their brains aren't fully developed. They're not fully formed, and there's still time to do intervention to make sure they don't go down that path. But something that I saw in the comments that I want to lift up, when you are putting young people, when you're putting minors into a federal penal system, someone said, you know what, that's preparing these young bodies for free slave labor. And that's what it appears is what's happening here.
So I want to do this here. So the bill that dealt with, it was, again, there are two bills, okay? So HR 4922 is called the DC Crime Act. This is the one that passed 240 to 179. So I want to walk y'all through. So there was 0 present, 13 did not vote, okay? 13 did not vote. I wonder why they didn't vote. Okay, but let's go through here. So let's see here. So what I'm looking for are the Democrats who voted yay for this bill, okay? So you see if the first one, Adams, North Carolina, no. Aguilar, California, no. Amo, Rhode Island, no. Then you get to Arizona. Auchincloss, out of Democrat from Massachusetts, voted yes. Let's see here. Let's see, we can find. And so these are all the folks who voted and how they voted. So, looking for the folks who voted yes. Okay, nay, nay, nay. More Democrats who voted nay. Nay, nay, nay. Let's see here. Clyburn voted no. Conaway, New Jersey, yes. Correa, California, yes. Costa, California, yes. Cuellar, Texas, yes. Davids, Kansas, yes. Again, Congressional Black Caucus member Don Davis, North Carolina, yes. Let's see here. Okay. Looking for more. Looking for those Democrats that voted yes. Golden, Democrat out of Maine, yes. Gillen, Democrat out of New York, voted yes. Gonzalez, Democrat out of Texas, yes. Goodlander, Democrat from New Hampshire, yes. Gray, a Democrat from California, not voting. Let's see, also a Green from Georgia, not voting. Harder, Democrat from California, yes. Let's see here. Looking for more Democrats who voted. Captor, Democrat, Ohio, yes. Lee, Democrat, Nevada, yes. Levin, Democrat from California. Actually, that was a no. Lynch, Democrat, Massachusetts, yes. Mannion, Democrat from New York, yes. Let's see here. Min, Democrat from California, yes. Moskowitz, Democrat, Florida, yes. Panetta, Democrat from California, yes. Pappas, Democrat, New Hampshire, yes. Riley, Democrat from New York, yes. Ryan, Democrat from New York, yes. Schreier, Democrat from Washington State, yes. Soto, Democrat from Florida, yes. Stanton, Democrat from Arizona, yes. Titus, Democrat from Nevada, not voting. Torres, Democrat from California, yes. Tran, Democrat from California, yes. Vindman, Democrat from Virginia, yes. Whitesides, Democrat from California, yes. And that's the final one there. Andrew, the reason I chose to do that, because oftentimes when we talk about these things, when you see these stories, it'll be 240 to 179. No. We need the names. Folk watching need to know if their member of Congress voted for mandatory minimums. All Republicans did except one, but 31 Democrats voted for H.R. 4922.
Yeah, and anyone that knows anything about criminal, how hard everyone worked on criminal justice reform, especially during the George Floyd era, knows how destructive mandatory minimums are to not only the defendants, but their families, and gives them zero hope of rehabilitation and gives judges zero discretion to actually look at who the person is. So it's important for everyone, really, it's public knowledge. You just pulled up a website where it's public knowledge to know where their representative is voting, because you're right. When that issue comes to New York and that issue comes to California, you already know that these people that have major influence in those regions and in those areas are going to be making decisions that are not going to be beneficial to the people that they're governing.
Absolutely. And Rebecca, bottom line is we should know those names. People should be aware. And to your point, they have to defend it, and they got to be called out on it.
Yeah, this is what it means for accountability. Step one is you vote for people, you vote for the candidate of your choice. Step two, you monitor and you see exactly what it is that they're doing. Step three, if you disagree with the choices and the votes that they're taking in their legislative body, then you hold them accountable. You hold them accountable by making appointments or showing up to their office, by placing phone calls, by doing letter writing campaigns when they have a town hall, if they have a town hall, showing up and expressing your displeasure. The fourth tactic here is if you see that there are a series of votes that you disagree with, that you think is harmful, that is anti the reason why you voted for your particular candidate of choice, then you mobilize your friends and neighbors and other like-minded people who also share that same thought. That is how you hold elected officials accountable. Just voting or deciding not to vote the next time isn't enough, but there's that in-between time during the governance, during the legislative sessions. That's when you have to express your content or your miscontent on what's happening with your particular elected official.
Raven?
Absolutely. To build on what's already been said, I think this is really what distinguishes us between MAGA, right? MAGA is a cult. They fall in line. They do what they're told they're supposed to do. We hold our people to account. When folks really meet the mark, we give them their flowers. And when they fail to meet the mark, we hold them accountable. We demand better. We demand answers. We demand change. And if we don't see that, then folks are going to get voted out. So I think really just to hone in on what's already been shared, that accountability piece is really paramount here. And these electeds need to be able to answer for their decisions because this was a really poor one.
Absolutely. All right, folks, got to go to a break. We'll be right back. More on Roland Martin Unfiltered, including progressive Ezra Klein sitting down with right-wing ideologue, nutcase Ben Shapiro. And Shapiro talks about what caused the right to really lose it when it came to Obama. And of course, it all had to do with race. Shocker. Folks, support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to cover the stories that are really important to center African Americans. Our goal is to raise $1 million by the end of this year. We got some great things coming, 2 new shows coming. We're going to be expanding our coverage, and so your support is critically needed. So, if you want to support us via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here in the bottom left-hand corner. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Send checks and money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on The Next Black Table, we're speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor a sign of text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing, and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on The Next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
This week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie, we're talking all things entrepreneurship. Whether you want to jump right in, take a leap of faith, or you've just been thinking about it for a while, we're having a one-on-one candid conversation with Dr. Tierney, our level up coach and YouTuber of the amazing Hey Sugar. So let's talk about entrepreneurship.
Before you jump out here, know that it is some work that goes into it. And not necessarily the work in the business itself, but some inner work.
That's this week on A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie on Black Star Network.
I'm Russell L. Honoré, Lieutenant General, United States Army retired, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, the mysterious death of Demartravion Trey Reed has taken a new turn after the Reed's family attorney says the university gave the family a conflicting account of how his body was found. In a news conference at Living Faith Miracle Temple Church of God in Christ in Grenada, Mississippi, attorney Vanessa Jones said the family was told Trey was found dead in his dorm room. However, the media reported that a Delta State University staff member discovered Reed's body hanging from a tree. Jones says the information the family is getting is from the media and not the school.
The family is getting all of their information secondhand through the news, and we want that to stop today. It will stop today. And the officials from Delta State University, the coroner's office, you will communicate directly with this family. and not through the media. And we want answers, and we're going to launch our own independent investigation to get those answers if Delta State University won't cooperate with us, if the local coroner's office won't cooperate with us, and hopefully the state coroner's office will cooperate, and so that this family just will not just, this happened yesterday, February the 15th, 2025. The media knew about his Trey's death before the family did. Now, what justice, what right would you communicate with the media prior to communicating with this family as if this young man's life meant nothing? The days leading up to this, he was just as fun-loving as ever. We recently had Grenada Day here in Grenada. He was here with his family, and he was joyful and loving as ever. And that's what he's been remembered for being a joyful, loving young man. And when he went back to Delta State University, he was this fun-loving person. And our question is, what happened?
The Boulevard County Coroner's Office reported no broken bones or other signs of assault before Reed's hanging. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump has joined the Reed family in calling for a full independent investigation into his death. We'll have the family attorney, Vanessa Jones, on Roland Martin Unfiltered on tomorrow. I don't understand, Raven, I don't get conflicting stories. Either you found him in the dorm or he was found hanging from a tree. To me, that's not close.
Right. No, not at all, Roland. I completely agree. Something in the milk ain't clean on this one. And I don't want to speculate out of respect to the families, or to the family rather, but my goodness, this just doesn't sit right with my spirit. One, because this young man is gone, but to your point, because we're getting conflicting stories. First of all, why did this family have to find out from the media what had actually happened and transpired with their child? That should have never come to fruition. Folks who were involved in what's transpired should have communicated with them directly, right? That is a very reasonable and fair expectation and ask. And the discrepancy in the story between, he passed away in his dorm room versus the hanging, some in the milk ain't clean, okay? Regardless of what transpired, whether it was suicide or whether there was a hate crime or something of that ilk at the epicenter of what happened, I think we can all agree that this is a tragedy, right? Either way, it's a crisis. Whether it's a mental health crisis that's sweeping the nation, I'm part of Gen Z, we are unwell. We are unwell. And how could we not be when we've all grown up doing, mass shooter drills and just under a constant state of terror as young people in this country? That is so real. That is so real. There's a reason the mental health crisis is affecting our generation so intimately. Whether it's that or whether it was something more racially motivated or nefarious, it's a crisis either way. Anti-Blackness is a national crisis. Mental health is a national crisis, and it has to be reckoned with in a meaningful way. And honestly, my heart just goes out to his family. I don't know how I can even say I wish them peace and healing, but somehow I hope they find that for themselves.
Rebecca?
Roland, I saw that there were reports that there was a second young man found on a different campus in Mississippi on Monday as well. One thing that I think people have to understand historically is that when Black people in this country die by suicide, hanging or nooses usually isn't the way in which it happens. I think what's also important to point out is that right now this country is in a cycle of violence, and there's racial violence underfoot. When we see flares of white supremacy show up, then the next thing that happens is you see bomb threats on HBCU campuses. You see Black places of worship, churches, and other Black institutions that now are under attack or burned or bombed, or other things happen as well. So I would just caution people, be very careful as we're watching these various things unfold, because the Department of Justice decided that their domestic terrorism tracking that they've been doing and the reports that they've been putting out, which shows that there is an uptick of white violence and white domestic terrorism in this country. The DOJ is trying to shelve that project and say that that report is no more, that report isn't violent. So do be aware historically of where we're at in this country right now and understanding the previous cycles of racial violence in response to white lash after certain achievements of Black folks in this country. So people are going to have to, protect themselves and be careful in the coming months, be careful in the coming years, because we are in a situation where we are in a very hostile environment.
Andrew.
It's so sad to have heard about that story, and my heart does go out to the family. I just want to talk about the educational institution that is stonewalling information to the family, but yet still the media has information that they don't have. And I think that when you're dealing with death investigation, if you want to keep it internal, it should be internal. There shouldn't be a situation where the media has more information than the actual family does. And I'm glad that my brother Ben Crump is on the case as well, because I'm sure that with his power and influence that he is going to put a lot of pressure on that institution to have answers. Because if there is something in the milk, like my colleague said, there's something in the milk, we all are going to want to go know about it, and we might be taking a trip down to Mississippi.
Indeed. So we'll hopefully get more details. All right, y'all. So y'all know I can't stand bad journalism. Y'all know I've called out other Black-owned and Black-targeted media for doing a horrible job. We can add Vibe magazine, and I don't even know what the hell Vibe, I don't know, but it ain't Black-owned. I don't know if it's Black-targeted. I have no idea what the hell it is. But I can say this here. What they are reporting now is really shameful. So this was yesterday on The Breakfast Club when Dame Dash was on the air, and he said this.
So every time I was launching something with my family office, he sent a letter saying that, I'd owe the money, but it was my family office, but it muddies the waters. So if you have a contract, especially you working here, and somebody sent a bum letter, and as soon as it's a lawyer, it shuts down. Mm-hmm. It muddies the waters. And I was about to make some major announcements. You want to hear one?
Sure.
I'm now the chairman of Revolt right now. Mm-hmm. And I also I have 15.
You don't deserve to be the chairman of Revolt.
I got you. So I'm now the chairman of Revolt with a pathway. Again, you see, because he wants to trigger me. And I want you to acknowledge that. So I'm now Cam's boss, the chairman of Revolt with a pathway to acquisition. I've been trying to buy Revolt.
How do we know this is not Cap? We didn't see this on Deadline.
Can you stop yelling? Can you stop interrupting me, please? So, Deadline didn't make the announcement for this particular situation. They didn't want to. I had an announcement I was going to make with BT, but Paramount stepped in and they said do it later, and they didn't want to be a part of this mess. But it will be in something. This gets played tomorrow, so the announcement will be in the trades tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So. I've been trying to buy Revolt, and I also just did a 25-episode deal for my podcast for Bosses Take Losses, mm-hmm. and I'm putting all my content on Revolt.
Dope.
Yes, so that I can see how to monetize. I have to put together a certain kind of a plan for acquisition. So in the next 30 days, I'm going to just be a real chairman and play all these movies, and then I'm going to... hopefully I'll stay the chairman, but I got to go make movies.
Somebody would say how? How would you buy Revolt?
Why wouldn't you say congratulations?
We did say congratulations.
Oh, you don't seem excited.
Dope, congratulations.
You have to understand something.
I'm waiting for it to come out in Deadline.
Let me finish.
I'll really be like, yo, I reposted.
Right.
But somebody would say, well,
now you're going to be Mr. Research, but you asking me why 50 Cent, but you guys got fooled.
But you're here
wait, let me finish. Real quick. I'm announcing.
Okay, so here's the issue that I have here. Okay, so he goes on and says that he's the chair. Vibe publishes it. Does Vibe call revote? Nope. Does Vibe confirm the story with revote? Nope. Vibe still has the story up. Even though Demartravion Samuels, who is the revote CEO, literally says, nah, he ain't got nothing to do with this. He ain't the chairman. He said that. Now y'all, again, I don't give a damn what Dame Dash is doing. I don't care. Okay, I don't care. Revolt, they got their business as well. But here's my problem. My problem is, how do you call yourself a media entity when you can't even pick the phone up to confirm a story? See, I got a problem with Black-owned or Black-targeted media doing awful journalism. I have a problem with that as an individual, as a journalist, but also as NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists, Vice President Digital. See, I believe that we have an obligation when talking to our audience to tell the truth. I got a problem when we have folk who are supposedly doing this and you can't even pick up. Now understand this here. Now go to my iPad. I want to show you. I'm going to walk y'all through something. Dash will remain chairman for 1 month, effective immediately. I've written business stories. In fact, when I was writing, when BET was sold, I was one of the folks who was on top of that and wrote stories for Deadline.com on that whole deal. How are you chairman for a month? So if you're a reporter and you hear that, and you're an editor, you hear that, you first go, hold up, this story's not making any sense. So I love this here. So Vibe, go to my iPad. Vibe writes this original story. Damon Dash has been named chairman of Revolt, blah, blah, blah. On Tuesday, the 54-year-old and the network announced the news of the appointment. Interesting. Do y'all see an announcement in here? It says all these things are going to be doing, everything like that. He's going to be doing all blah, paid in full. Okay, all those things. Okay, I got it. All right, so, okay. Now, the Revolt CEO talked about a content partnership. A content partnership, y'all, is not chair of the company. Now, this is what's stupid to me. Look at this last quote, last comment. Vibe has reached out to Revolt for comment. Okay, this is when you know your story is shit. Okay? Let me give y'all some basic journalism. See the bottom? Go back. Vibe has reached out to Revolt for comment. That's the last paragraph. But earlier in the same story, it said, this is the second paragraph. On Tuesday, the 54-year-old and the network announced news of the appointment. So, Vibe, y'all ran a story as an exclusive, and you didn't talk to the people with the exclusive, but then you say you reached out for comment at the bottom of your story, but you say they made the announcement. Okay, got it. Okay. Where was the announcement made? Is there a press release? Is there video, whatever? Okay, now here's what makes matters worse. 6:35 p.m. Eastern, this is yesterday. A statement released via TSR indicates that a deal between Damon Dash and Revolt TV has not been confirmed despite discussions of potential collaboration. Dash, however, remains adamant that his interim position with Revolt TV is legitimate. More to come. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. You literally say a statement released via TSR indicates that a deal, listen y'all, that a deal between Damon Dash and Revolt TV has not been confirmed despite discussions of potential collaboration. Y'all, discussions of a potential collaboration and confirmation of a deal ain't the same. It's not the same. This is what's crazy to me. Go back. Update 11:30 a.m. Vibe has reached out to Demartravion Samuels, CEO of Revolt, regarding reports by the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club alleging that a quote attributed to Samuels that was provided by Lord have mercy, y'all. Go on back, y'all. I just want to show y'all how bad journalism is. Who the hell is this writer, and who the hell is the fucking editor over at Vibe? Vibe has reached out to Demartravion Samuels, the CEO of Revolt, regarding reports by the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club alleging that a quote attributed to Samuels that was provided to Vibe by Dash's public relations team is fabricated. Samuels has yet to respond to our requests for comment. Dash says he stands firmly behind the quotes and statements provided to Vibe in our original reporting. So let y'all. So Vibe writes a story that comes from Dame that has a quote from the Revolt CEO from Dame, and Vibe types it up and then says at the bottom, we tried to reach Revolt, but at the top of the page, they call this an exclusive. Let me tell y'all what this is. It's an exclusive press release. How do you say somebody is chairman of a company and you never talk to the company, and then your ass write a story with quotes that come from somebody else? And let me just go ahead and do this right now. He gonna be the chair. They gonna do content. I just gotta show y'all this one here because I can't believe I saw this here. He got all this stuff by paid in full. Okay, fine. Okay, but this is what's stupid to me. And this is why the reporters should be fired. The editors should be fired. This is what it says. Revolt TV CEO Demartravion Samuels spoke on the network's partnership with Dash and America New Network, expressing his respect and admiration for Dash's track record as a visionary. As the CEO of a media company dedicated to hip-hop culture and the diverse creators and consumers who drive it, it made sense to do business with Dame, Samuel said in a statement. Quote, after 30 years, he continues to be a driving force in hip-hop and pop culture, and people want to hear what he has to say no matter how they feel about it. When you say somebody said in a statement, that means your ass got a copy of the statement. That means it's been emailed to you, it's been texted to you, it comes from him directly, it comes from the publicist, it comes from the comms team, it's posted on Revolt's official Instagram, any social media accounts, or the CEO's account or LinkedIn. That ain't posted nowhere. And y'all asses wrote a whole story quoting a CEO of a company, a black-owned company, saying as a statement, but you got the statement from the very person who announced that he was the chairman, and you ain't confirmed that nowhere. See, I told y'all, I keep telling y'all the problem I got with these so-called black targeted and black-owned media people who got shitty, piss-poor journalism. They don't call nobody, they don't research shit, they just type it up, slap it on a website, put it on social media, and folks run with it as if it's the truth when it's not the damn truth. And I done called out a whole bunch of, y'all know, I called out Black Enterprise before, I called out The Root, I called out News One, I called out Blavity, I called out Essence, I called them out. The reason this is piss poor and the reason this is shameful is because black people expect media companies to actually report what's true. And so what then happens is somebody posts something, and all of a sudden it boomerangs. Remember, I told y'all when Newsweek did that story saying Biden cut $35 billion from HBCUs. And man, when they dropped that cover and it spread like wildfire, I saw the story and I knew it was a lie. And there were several prominent African Americans who reposted that cover story, mad, pissed off. And I called them, I said, take that bullshit down because Newsweek is lying. Newsweek got the reporting wrong. NBC News got the reporting wrong. See, y'all, do y'all now understand why we're trying to build something bigger? Do y'all understand that we are literally completely reformatting BlackStarNetwork.com to be a news portal? Do y'all understand why when I'm talking about contributing? Because we want to hire real damn journalists who know how to pick the phone up, who know how to research. Because what we can ill afford as black people is the bullshit that you're seeing in this Vibe article. What we can ill afford are seeing black-owned or black-targeted outlets rewriting the stories of white media and slapping their bylines on it, and then you read it thinking, oh, this must be true. No, I've made perfectly clear in my entire career that, listen, most of the stuff that mainstream white media focus on, I don't give a damn about. But I've always said this here, what they never gonna do is out-black me. And if I have to sit here and pick the phone, see, y'all understand, I've done this numerous times. I've seen a story, and I go, that don't smell good. That don't seem right. Let me call the person. Now, luckily, because of who I am in my career, I have relations where I can call a lot. Most people are on their cell phone. But if I ain't got their cell phone, the first thing I'm gonna do is call the office. I'm gonna call the office. Then I can't reach them, I'm gonna call I don't call the publicist or the cons first, I call the office first. I'm gonna make 10 calls to get to the truth. And y'all, it's stuff like this, when these stories get published and black people see it, and I know somebody's sitting here going, damn, Ro, this ain't no big ass deal. Don't nobody care about Dame Dash or whatever. Y'all missing the whole point. The point is, this is a media outlet that wrote a story based on a lie that got the reporting from one person, the person who's supposedly the chair. Anybody, if somebody came to me with these basic facts, this is what Roland would say. Dame Dash, you're gonna be the chair of Revolt? How are you gonna be the chair of Revolt when Revolt actually was purchased by the employees? Oh, you didn't really know that. Yeah, Diddy's stake in Revolt was purchased, became an employee buyout. Yeah, I know that because I covered it. In fact, I was aware of the negotiations. If I told y'all who I was talking to, y'all would understand. I was fully aware of the sale as it was happening. I didn't report it because my sources asked me not to, but I knew what was going on. So the first thing, if you have an employee purchase of a company, how you gonna bring somebody as chairman who ain't got no equity stake in the company? I can tell y'all right now, I know the people who were bidding to buy Revolt. Dame Dash wasn't one of them. Not even close. Again, if you were a journalist, you would know these things. But some very basic fundamental things here. A source gives you a statement about them becoming chairman of a company, and the same source gives you a statement with the quote from the CEO of the company, and you as the reporter and the media company, you never think to call the company to confirm the news before you publish it. So you rush to publish it and slap exclusive on it, and you ain't confirmed nothing. And then you put at the bottom of the story, Vibe call, revolt for comment. This is a massive failure top to bottom. It's a failure on the part of the reporter. It's a failure on the part of the editors. It's a failure on the part of the CEO, whoever the hell that is with Vibe. But this is the problem that I have, that forget that this story about Revolt and Dame Dash. What happens if this is now a political story, or a voting rights story, or a criminal justice reform story, or a black business story? And I've seen this. Washington Post did a story saying that Bob Bland, Tamika Mallory, Carmen Perez, Linda Sarsour were being run out of the Women's March. No, they weren't. They had term limitations. So they weren't kicked off the board. But you know what happened? 3 black outlets rewrote the Washington Post story, slapped a byline on it, and people said, well, I saw it here. Remember that story? Biden handing out crack pipes. What right-wing paper writes it, Black Enterprise rewrote it. I hit the Black Enterprise, people say, what the hell y'all doing? It's a bullshit story. Fact check. We as black people, when we know about misinformation and disinformation, what we cannot allow is for our media entities to literally do the exact same thing. And we have to be just as aggressive. If I am going to call out Fox News, if I am going to call out these right-wingers, then I'm also going to call out black-owned and black-targeted media for awful, awful reporting. Enough of this BS, y'all. Vibe should have the decency to take this story down and launch an internal investigation as to how in the hell did you report a completely bogus story. Bringing my panel, and Rebecca, again, people don't understand the gravity of this and why it pisses me off, because we've witnessed this happen numerous times, and black folks run with it, and once that lie boomerangs around, is hell trying to stop it.
Roland, this is why independent journalism and real journalism is very important. Someone that is reporting on something doesn't automatically make them a journalist. But when we talk about traditional sources of journalism, like magazines, newspapers, traditional broadcast media, there's a certain expectation. But what we're seeing in this climate, and I keep talking about the climate that we're in and historically where we are in this country, is that we're seeing an increased monopolization and consolidation of how people are getting their news sources. We're seeing that Paramount and CBS, and now that particular family is looking to, I think there was reports of purchasing TikTok US and other forms of media. What this is all about is about information. How are people getting information? And if you control the flow of information, you also control outcomes, you control human behavior. Because when you look at information that's reported, that then impacts how people are gonna move about that day. So here's an example. If I'm driving in my car, I'm listening to a traffic report or the weather report, and they're telling me, hey, there's getting ready to be a big storm, get off of 95, go somewhere else because traffic's gonna get backed up. Guess what I'm gonna do immediately? I'm gonna change my behavior and I'm gonna do something different based upon that report. The reason why this matters so much with Vibe magazine is Vibe magazine is supposed to be an entertainment magazine, report on entertainment news.
And it was launched as the hip hop Bible.
Absolutely. So now when you have a I won't say so-called because that sounds shady, the Dame Dash. When you have a hip hop icon, I got to swallow as I say that. When you have a hip hop icon like Dame Dash and they're not able to get fundamental pieces of a story correct, then now their coverage on social justice issues, which Vibe magazine prides itself on reporting on social justice issues. Vibe magazine prides itself in covering elections. And they talk about how they don't cover it in a traditional way, but they cover it in a way in which its audience is able to dissect and participate in what's happening primarily with domestic policies within the United States. So if they can't get their bread and butter correct, and such a low standard to get this type of story correct, then that lets you know subsequent news that is of more gravity, you're going to have to side eye. The reason why this is so important, we were talking to the audience last month about why it's so important with platforms like Black Star Network. It's so important with Roland Martin, a daily digital show. Is over the next few years, we're going to see more suspicious information being pushed out as news. I'm letting you all know right now, it's not news. The final thing I would say about this, Roland, is maybe we need to have a telethon talking about what's happening within so-called news in this country and even globally, and use that as opportunity for people to immediately give money to make sure that you're meeting your goal by the end of the year.
I want y'all to go to my iPad right now. Okay, this is the story that pissed me off, and it was ridiculous. And one second, sorry. So what they did was, go to my iPad now, sorry. When the story ran, they actually had this cover, and there was some, I forgot what it was, something like Biden cuts $45 billion from HBCUs, and man, black folks lost their minds. The reason I knew the story was BS, because I was covering the story. I was on top of the story. And I remember what Biden promised to HBCU and Hispanic serving institutions. So y'all know what happened? On this show, I pulled the press release up and I showed it. I showed people exactly what he said. Y'all, 3 weeks. We did numerous stories, Andrew, 3 weeks, because that one Newsweek story, NBC News, did something talking to 3 HBCU students, and I blasted that reporter for her shameful reporting as well, because she didn't have the facts. The students didn't have the facts. And all these black folks, and this wasn't about you're trying to cover for Biden Harris. No, it was the facts. And that's my problem. That's what pisses me off. And when black people see it, we ran with that shit, and I literally called the member of Congress who sits on the Education Committee and who dealt with the funding, Congressman Bobby Scott. He's an Alva brother. I knew that. I said, Congressman, walk me. He said, no, Roland, here are the facts. Oh, what was the operative phrase? I fucking called.
Yeah, what I'm saying is a lot less investigative journalism and more armchair opinionated journalism, and that's something that I think is going to be problematic. But it's going to be problematic for everyone else except for you, Roland, because you put in the work and you put in the time to actually make these phone calls to make sure something is coming out of your mouth, that it's accurate. And that's what's going to be important going forward, because as Americans, and especially Black Americans, you really only got one time with us, right? Now, Vibe magazine has made a mistake that reporters should be fired, because typically in a major magazine or a major, if you just miss the mark just a little bit on the facts in your reporting, you typically are fired or let go. That reporter should be fired, but it also forces us to seek out publications that have a higher standard of reporting and investigation, because we want the facts. We want the neutral journalism. We want our journalists to have made those 10, 15 phone calls, talk to the source. And now, right now, Roland, you're in a unique position where you've been around for so long that you are the source, right? You are the person that is going to be able to pick up and call the important person and go to the source of what the information is without any, in between or hearing from this person's assistant. You're going to be able to. So we got to support networks just like you. Right now, you're very unique because you're one of one, and I'm proud to be a part of this movement.
Raven, it drives me crazy. And again, listen, I barely do any entertainment. So this has nothing to do with Dame Dash. It has nothing to do with Revolt, even though but it's the basis. But my anger is people trust us. When I went on the Breakfast Club 2 or 3 years ago, I said to Charlemagne and Envy, DJ Envy, I said, we have to be mindful of what comes in our brain, out of our mouths, into this microphone, and out to the world. Because the moment it comes out of your mouth into this microphone, then you can't control it. I said, so we must be careful not to weaponize BS and lies in what we say. I said, we must have great respect for the microphone. So the same goes for this microphone I have on. The same goes for what you say on social media. And this story is problematic for me because basic, fundamental rules of journalism failed. You don't go with one source when the source is the person who's actually the subject of the story. You don't get a quote from the company from the same source and his publicist. So what you say is, we're not running this story until we confirm it ourselves with Revolt. What you don't do is slap exclusive on it like, oh, you got a breaking news story, when all you now have done is made yourself look like idiots in writing a story saying a statement was released that you never got from the company. You got it from Dash's PR people. That to me is insane.
Absolutely. And look, words have power. They are powerful tools that have to be wielded responsibly, right? And this is a situation where those words and that power was not wielded responsibly because the math ain't mathin'. The math ain't mathin'. This was not responsible journalism. And that's frustrating to see, especially from a Black media company like Vibe or a Black serving company like Vibe. You know, and I think this broader conversation around integrity, right? If we're going to call on Fox News and other reporting outlets to say things that are integrous and true, then we also have to make sure that we're reflecting that in the kind of work that we do as reporters, whether that's through more traditional media or that's happening in the online social media space like what I do. So that's a really critical piece. We can't call out their hypocrisy and then do things that are hypocritical. That's not how it works. But unfortunately, I think because we are living in the era of the attention economy, it doesn't actually matter if what you're saying is true. Of course, it matters in terms of impact, but for the bottom line, for how people are making money, it doesn't. Because at the end of the day, their goal is to get a click, and the goal is to get that ad money, right? To get more eyes on their site. And so if you throw up exclusive, even if the contents of the article aren't integrous or true or lack nuance or what have you, the point is that you got someone to click. Now, of course, this happens in traditional media, this happens on social media, but it's troubling because there seems to be no incentive to not spread mis, dis, and malinformation. In fact, these things are often incentivized if what you're saying is inflammatory enough that you can get people to care and to opt into what you want them to be paying attention to, right? And so I think particularly in this moment, you know, this article that we're seeing from Vibe really, really illuminates why so many people are losing trust in traditional media and turning to social media. Now, again, to be clear, mis, dis, malinformation exists everywhere, traditional media and social media.
Right.
But I think these names like the Washington Post and New York Times that are supposed to be trusted, these continual and like recurring incidents of that trust being broken, of poor reporting, of this bad information being shared and circulated on a wide scale that actually genuinely causes harm to people, they don't trust traditional media anymore, right? So they're turning to people like me, which has its pros and has its cons. So, you know, really what I think is at the epicenter of this conversation is how critical it is that, one, folks know how to read and research, critical skills. AI overview is not researching. And media literacy. Folks have to be able to identify when what they're consuming is credible information and when it's not. And unfortunately, these are skills that so many folks are just fundamentally lacking.
So you know what? I don't know who the hell Brooks Education is. This person follows me on Instagram. And I posted about the Vibe thing, and this person goes, there's other things to talk about, Roland. Let's never bring our own people down, especially if it doesn't help anyone do anything. Can someone please follow up? Can someone follow up with Trey Reed's family, please? Well, Brooke, how about you watch this damn show? See, Brooks, you decide to post on a public page, so you get called out publicly. See, when you say silly shit like this here, oh, there are so many other things that we can talk about. Yes, we're talking about disinformation, misinformation. We're talking about media lies. We're talking about bad journalism. And you got a problem with that? Oh, let's talk about Trey Reed's family. The attorney's going to be on the show tomorrow, Brooks. See how that works? Brooks, I'm explaining to you what journalists do. First of all, we multitask. We cover different subjects. We also email, text, DM, call, do all we can. Because this is a journalism-led show. Brooks, so let me be real clear with you. I'm not a media personality. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a content creator. I'm a journalist, Brooks. A journalist. A BS in journalism. Graduate of Jack Yates High School, Magnet School of Communications. Reporter, Austin American-Statesman, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. News director, KKDA Radio and morning anchor. Managing editor, Dallas Weekly. Managing editor, Houston Defender. Managing editor, Chicago Defender. contributing editor, Essence, writing for Ebony, produced for major broadcasting cable network, host of 2 shows on TV One, 6 years at CNN. I can run everything else down, Brooks. Numerous awards, 4 halls of fame. So here's my suggestion, Brooks. In reading your bio, you're an educator and a talent manager. Stay in your lane, because I'm in mine. Going to a break, we come back. Some breaking news we'll cover for you. ABC is suspending Jimmy Kimmel over what's happened with Charlie Kirk. We're going to show you that next. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Black Star Network, what's happening? It's your man, Kim. And look, my new single, Rock With Me, is on fire. We debuted as the #1 most added and greatest gainer at R&B radio. So look, I want you to go check it out at musicbykim.com. Listen to it, download it, tell me what you think about it. Also, make sure you sign up to be a part of my community so we can stay connected. At Music by Kim on all social media platforms. Thank you for rocking with me. And keep love on the one.
'Cause I want you to rock with me. We live in a strange world till the darkness falls forever. Baby, let's be the dawn. When it feels like it's taking me over, you're making me stronger, my sweet love.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
Folks, breaking news. ABC is suspending Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely from his late night show over comments that he made about Charlie Kirk. Why do they do this? Because Nexstar, one of the local television station groups, was threatening to remove Kimmel's show from their stations as a result of those comments. Now, let me explain to y'all, and not only that, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, who is a Donald Trump sycophant, went on the show of right-winger Benny Johnson. You know, the dude, I think he got, Benny got money from the Russians, I believe. He went on his show and called on Disney to suspend him, or he was going to pull the licenses of ABC. Now, let me explain to people how this works, okay? ABC, the network, Disney owns ABC. ABC is a network. The network does not have an FCC license. The Federal Communications Commission grants broadcast licenses to local TV stations. Disney ABC owns several. They're called owned and operated stations. So the FCC could take action against those stations. But you have these affiliates. They pay ABC for their programming. Those are owned by Sinclair, Nexstar, Tegna, and others. So Nexstar, because they own the stations, could say, we're taking you off the air because we don't want to piss off the FCC chairman who could revoke our licenses, which is very rare, but under Donald Trump, they have been threatening this left and right. The same Brendan Carr has been threatening companies, ordering them to remove DEI, to do all of those different things. He told Paramount, not approving the merger, let's get rid of DEI. Every company that is governed by the FCC, including some telecoms, are scared to death because Brendan Carr is using his authority to force these people to do the bidding of Donald Trump. And so now we have this news coming out now that they are suspending or removing the show, removing Jimmy Kimmel's show for an indefinite period of time over these comments made regarding Charlie Kirk. Let's go to my panel. Rebecca, I want to go to you. I mean, listen, Donald Trump's remember, he comes in, he settles with Disney. He basically tells Paramount, yeah, y'all gonna pay me up or ain't approving your merger. Same thing. They're kissing his butt. They hire a right-wing ombudsman who has no experience whatsoever in media. What NBC is doing. And so this is about, listen, the Washington Post has capitulated. You've got them firing people. They just fired Karen Attia, opinion writer. They have no black columnists left on their opinion page. All of these media people are running scared because Donald Trump is using the authority of the federal government to bring these people to heel. And we now see this here with one of his biggest critics in Jimmy Kimmel. And this comes on after CBS announced they're canceling his other big critic, Stephen Colbert, and his show.
Roland, this is the reason why I made the comment that I made during the last segment about you having a telethon or some extended special show really documenting and really showing how the consolidation of the news, how the impact with this administration is really quelling down sources of information, how people are receiving information, and the increase of censorship. If people are saying something that the almighty ruler doesn't particularly care for, because people need someone to be able to walk them through what's happening. The reason why it's important for independent journalism and independent journalists like yourself and this type of platform to walk people through this is because we know in traditional media right now they are scared. They absolutely will not do it. It's not that they can't do it. It's they will not do it because of how media is being consolidated and the particular folks who are behind some of the consolidation in media. They're dancing to this administration's beat. And so people really need to understand what's happening and why investing in independent journalism is very important. We see an increase in journalists who have left traditional media who are now going to Substack, and they're looking for other ways to continue to do their craft, to continue to report on news and provide information to the masses of people. But what we're seeing within mass communications is that mass communications is consolidating where it's going to be limited to 1, 2, or maybe 3 if we're lucky sources, which is why people really have to lean into independent journalism. People have to understand the critical reasoning and the analysis that journalists and true journalists and trained journalists actually use in reporting information. It's not just you're pulling something off of a wire. It's not just that you're reading a press release. It's not that you just see something posted somewhere else and then you get on camera and you regurgitate what has been written. But it's the who, what, when, where, why, and how. It's asking the primary questions, the secondary questions, the tertiary questions, asking the follow-up questions to make sure that the readers, the viewers, truly understand the why of the particular story that's being reported. So, Roland, you're definitely going to have to be able to do this so people, especially Black America, understands what's happening and understand the information that they're receiving and what that information should look like.
This right here, Raven, this was the threat. It happened a few hours ago that forced all of this to happen. This is Brendan Carr, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, appearing on the podcast of right-wing conspiracy theorist Benny Johnson. Listen.
There's actions that we can take on licensed broadcasters, and frankly, I think that it's really sort of past time that a lot of these licensed broadcasters themselves push back on Comcast and Disney and say, listen, we are going to preempt. We are not going to run Kimmel anymore until you straighten this out, because we licensed broadcaster, are running the possibility of fines or license revocations from the FCC if we continue to run content that ends up being a pattern of news distortion. So I think, again, Disney needs to see some change here. But the individual licensed stations that are taking their content, it's time for them to step up and say, this, garbage, to the extent that that's what comes down the pipe in the future, isn't something that we think serves the needs of our local communities. But this sort of status quo is obviously not acceptable where we are.
Carr says nothing about right-wing lies, ever. Now I need everybody to understand, What this was, Andrew, this was Carr threatening ABC, threatening the local stations, and they buckled. Oh, we're taking him off the air for an indefinite period of time. Now, not apology. This ain't even Brian Kilmeade who said, let's kill the homeless, and he gave this half-hearted apology, was back on the air the next day. No, this is Donald Trump and MAGA forcing big media, mainstream media, to bend the knee and to bow down to him.
Yeah, and it is very, very scary to see somebody that's been such a pillar of comedy in Jimmy Kimmel fired because of the comments that he made during a show that is loosely supposed to be satire. And, that the Charlie Kirk issue has been such a polarizing issue throughout the United States, which I don't quite fully understand, and I have my own personal opinions about it, and I feel as though, Jimmy Kimmel being fired for this is ridiculous.
No. He's not fired. No. He's not fired. His show is being definitely suspended. Go ahead.
Definitely suspended for this, and the hypocrisy in which the right is moving. And for journalists who want to tell the truth going forward and want both sides of the story, now they have to be looking over their shoulder and wondering, well, is this going to get me fired? If I report on this person and is this going to be something that possibly ends my career? It's no longer about the truth now to them, right? It's about the impact of how their bosses or how their bosses' bosses might view this. And it's completely hypocritical because the main argument that they're saying about Charlie Kirk is that he was telling the truth. When else tries to tell the truth, they get indefinitely suspended. And last thing about Jimmy Kimmel, he's indefinitely suspended. But Roland, it seemed like he might be on the market for a while, so you can't say that.
But here's the deal here, Raven. And so we're going to play for y'all. This is exactly what Jimmy Kimmel said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is
re-rack that. I want y'all to understand. This is why they're mad at him. I want y'all to understand. It literally lasted 3 seconds. So, before I go to Raven, play it again. I want y'all to listen to this here, because to understand why the right is so angry and they call for his head. Listen to this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score.
That was it. Trying to desperately characterize him as anyone other than them. So it's not like they said, hey, Jimmy, go on the air and correct what you said. Nope. Now, here's the other problem here, y'all. We don't know nothing about him. The reporting so far, you can't necessarily believe what you're hearing. That's what's so crazy, Raven. The right is so hardcore. No, leftists, not one of us. So what they did was they knew, and this is the thing that people understand, they knew the Achilles heel of ABC, NBC, CBS, those are federal licenses. Raven, for the people who don't know, the reason Brendan Carr can't go after CNN or Fox News or MSNBC is because those are cable networks. And the FCC has no jurisdiction over cable networks, but they do broadcast licenses.
Yet another profound and unapologetic overreach of power. But are we surprised? I mean, Brendan Carr was a key contributor to Project 2025. So we've been new. He's a Trump lackey, and he's shown us that every single day that he's been in this position, right? I mean, you know, I think regardless of sort of one's sentiments on what happened to Charlie Kirk and what little information we have about the suspected murderer, what Jimmy is naming is not an unfair thing to name, that there is a problem among white America of young white men being radicalized, of people on the right making it easy for people to get their hands on guns who have no business having their hands on guns. And that this is a problem, a white man specific problem. Not that only white men are doing it, but young white men are at the epicenter of this conversation in some critical ways. So I don't think that was unreasonable to name. And I think it actually says a lot more that there is outrage at that query being posited, as opposed to outrage at the fact that gun violence like this is happening in our country to begin with, gun violence that disproportionately impacts Black and brown people in a lot of ways. And yet the outrage that this white supremacist was gunned down is greater than what I've seen for, you know, the kids that were killed, right, that same day. Charlie Kirk got more coverage. So this is not me trying to hire guys how people are supposed to care or what that's supposed to look like, but it is to say that I think Jimmy is getting to a critical issue in this country that the right does refuse to name, does refuse to reckon with. And the fact that now that this is leading to essentially responses that disallow free speech is really rich, coming from the party that claims to have free speech at the epicenter of its platform. If y'all care about it so much, it's not just free speech when you like what someone is saying, it's free speech because free speech is critical and central to democracy, period. So this is unsurprising, but deeply disappointing and concerning for the state of our democracy.
And also, you can actually make a mistake and you come back and correct it. But I need people to understand, where the right's state of mind is right now. This is Texas Congressman Troy Nehls today on Capitol Hill. Y'all, this is not AI. This was actually stated on Capitol Hill.
Charlie Kirk was a man of faith. First and foremost, he loved his Lord Jesus. He loved his family. Beautiful wife, beautiful children. Just a remarkable, honorable man that was silenced with this assassin's bullet. I would say if Charlie Kirk lived in the biblical times, he'd have been the 13th disciple. He'd have been the 13th disciple.
He also wouldn't have become a conservative star because if he had been one of the disciples sitting on the teachings of Jesus, he would not have had the opinions that he had. But I played that just so people can understand the state of mind of where these folks are. So it is no shock at all that they have now claimed, oh, we got another one. Y'all, this is their mission. They do not support free speech. They support them talking and the rest of us shutting up. Let me do this here. All right, so it was craziness on Capitol Hill today. Kash Patel was testifying before the House. Oh, and it was bonkers. And y'all know CongresswomanJasmine Crockett had to set this buffoon straight. And so she did.
I definitely take issue with a number of decisions that Donald Trump makes, especially when it comes to the people that he decides to appoint to very important positions, including this one, because I did have to make sure that I wasn't going crazy. But when I say that you are the least qualified FBI director in the history of the FBI, that is real, because you are the only one that never even served with the FBI prior to joining, yet we are supposed to believe that you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I didn't ask you a question. Now, what I want to go through is to talk about why you are a failure and why, honestly, we just need to tell you bye-bye. I know that you got a little upset and you put on your show for your boss because it seems like you're trying to save your job when it came to talking to Senator Booker yesterday. But let's go through some of your failures. So before you were even confirmed, and I think one of my colleague from Georgia, pointed out that you were already targeting career officials so that you could direct illegal firings. Mind you, these cases that you were so upset about, which are the ones tied to Trump, the cases came through his handpicked FBI director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe. And frankly, my colleagues have been real nice to you today, and I applaud them, but I don't have the same demeanor because I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues. And frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you. And if we start talking about the reasons that I lack confidence, we could start with you not just wanting to acknowledge some simple facts. Simple facts like the vast majority of the threats are coming from right-wing extremism. And I know my colleagues have tried to stress this, but I decided that I would maybe do it in a different way. Number one, I have a couple of UCs. Kim Buck, one of multiple Republicans receiving death threats for voting against Jim Jordan as House Speaker.
Without objection.
Another one, Republican lawmaker says she received death threats after voting against Jim Jordan in Speaker's race.
Without objection.
In addition, there was another one from another colleague who now is leaving Congress because they said that they were calling his wife anonymously and threatening her life to the extent that she ended up sleeping with a firearm.
Without objection.
Okay, so here's the deal. How are we supposed to have confidence when you're sitting up here telling the Senate yesterday that it will take you 14 years before you can get the FBI fully staffed to do their jobs? You're also now redirecting resources so that they can go and play ICE agents on the streets. You're getting rid of your most qualified people, and even when it came down to somebody that you consider to be a friend, you were posted up having some fancy dinner to the extent that you posted not only once erroneously, you posted twice erroneously as it relates to catching somebody, and then you want to go and say, let me take a victory lap. Because honestly, if it wasn't for parents deciding that they were going to turn in their child, it seems like y'all wouldn't have got there, even though he literally confessed online. So I'm confused about what it is that the FBI is doing except for trying to put on a show for the apprentice or whatever you want to call him. The day after all of this took place, there was domestic terrorism that was taking place at HBCUs. They were targeted. Yet I didn't hear anything from the FBI about what was going on. And again, black people kept saying, how did we end up in this? Because the numbers are so very clear that white supremacy is a problem. And honestly, I've not heard anything out of you today that makes me believe that you're gonna do anything about the white supremacy problem. The one that is leading to children being killed, children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
Well, she absolutely nailed that. And frankly, Raven, we need more of that. I mean, I don't think people really understand what we're facing. They don't really understand these people. They don't care about the First Amendment, except when it applies to them. They live in constant victimhood. They love talking about black people. Why are you always playing the victim? The greatest people who play the victim the most are Republicans, conservatives. I mean, they think, oh my God, we can't have jobs, no one wants to hear us, we can't. That's all they do is whine. And they truly have an idiot running the FBI in Kash Patel.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely spot on, Roland. I mean, I just love watching that clip. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is such a firecracker. She just don't miss, does she? Oh my God, every time she opens her mouth, I'm like, yes, pop off. Not a single lie was told, right? And I felt her when she said that she does not feel safe in this country as a black woman. That's real. I mean, let's call it how it is. Trump is a white supremacist. His cohort of supporters either are white supremacists themselves or excuse white supremacy. And maybe those are the same things, right? And so Kash Patel obviously falls under that umbrella, and people who fall under that umbrella cannot be trusted with our safety, period. And we see that truth proven to us over and over again. The point that she elucidated around HBCUs being targeted in the wake of Charlie Kirk being murdered is really critical, right? Because we're talking about an institution, the FBI and policing, institutions that emerge from a lineage and an origin story of slave patrols, institutions that were created explicitly, let's be clear, explicitly to protect white people and white property. So just because Kash Patel ain't white doesn't mean he's not doing the bidding of white supremacy. And I want to be really, really clear about that. I'm not surprised that there wasn't an outpouring of outrage or support for HBCU students who are being targeted in the wake of something they ain't got nothing to do with us or with them, right? I mean, at the epicenter of this conversation, I think, is a refusal to reckon with facts. A refusal to reckon with facts, published by the NIJ, that the vast majority, as Jasmine Crockett names, of these extremist incidents are being perpetrated by the right. But instead of naming that, reckoning with that, looking to offer real and concrete solutions to this problem that is now impacting the entire nation, what do? They take down that study from their website, right? We saw something very similar happen actually with the ADL about a year ago, where they had a whole database of, anti-Semitism, extremist events, who are perpetrating those events. Almost every single event that they had in their own database was perpetrated by the right. And when people started to name and expose that, they took the database down. So what we're seeing is, whether it's an administration or an organization, data, research, credible research that underlines what the real problem is being obfuscated because it doesn't align with what people's politics are in this moment, with what certain administrations and organizations are aligned with in this moment. And not only is that fundamentally intellectually lacking integrity, it's dangerous because it doesn't actually get us closer to finding a solution to the problem.
Andrew?
Washington, D.C. is coming off of about a month of occupation from the federal government because of dangerousness. And I say that because now you have a situation where it is clear that white supremacists have always been dangerous, and now they're being emboldened by the federal government to be dangerous. And we're all on notice. We're all fearful. And it seems like it's not just a black problem, it's now becoming a white problem. And at what point do we all unify and put race behind us and unify as a people and say enough is enough? This has to stop. The violence needs to stop. And the only way that it is going to stop is if the people rise up. We got election coming up. The people rise up and they say we have to vote these people out of office and take our government back.
Rebecca?
Roland, if you haven't read this, go ahead and read it. If you don't like reading books, it's also an audiobook. I think people are going to really have to ground and center themselves to understand what they're experiencing, what they're seeing, what we're hearing, and the reason why we're hearing these things. I encourage people to get as much information right now. Look at different historical books that talk about when we've been here before as a country, in order to dig in and prepare for what's next, and also to make sure you're keeping your families, yourselves, and your communities safe as we travel this time period.
Well, folks, it's a whole lot we have to deal with and confront. And I was going to get into the Ezra Klein, Ben Shapiro, deconstruct a portion of that ridiculous interview. I'm going to have to do that tomorrow because we had the breaking news coverage to cover as well. But Rebecca made the point earlier. Folks, if you don't see what we're about to roll up against, we have mainstream media capitulation, left and right. Washington Post. Wall Street Journal's already right. Fox News. Fox is lauding Jimmy Kimmel, saying he lied. That literally was a 2-second comment in his monologue. But Fox lied for months about the election and had to pay $787 million. So they may want to sit this one out. And I'm telling y'all right now, if you look at the landscape of black-owned media, black-targeted media, it's barren. Y'all, it's barren. I'm telling y'all. When we travel this country to cover stories, there are virtually no black media people there. Oh, there are black journalists who work in mainstream who are being consistently laid off every single day. They ain't there, y'all. I'm telling you. They're not there. What we're trying to build here is a focused newsroom on news and issues that centers African Americans. Real journalists. Folks who know how to make phone calls, who know how to research, who know how to report. Because what we are facing is a dearth of substantive information. And here's the other deal, y'all. What I want to create, I'll be perfectly honest, I have no problem sharing that content with other black sites because they're not going to have it. I am just being honest. I appreciate the folks at Black Enterprise. Black Enterprise doesn't cover black news anymore. They are a conference company. You have to do what you have to do to keep the doors open. And it's simply a fact. Essence is not covering the news and issues that impacts black women like they used to. They're not. Ebony is an Instagram page. Now, they're trying, they hired Corey Murray, who is phenomenal, used to be at Essence, but she has an uphill climb at Ebony. TV One has no news programming whatsoever. Clio TV, none. BET has a 1-hour monthly magazine show. Y'all, the vision that I have is one that I had when I ran Black America Web in 2001, that I had when I ran the Dallas Weekly and the Houston Defender. We're now going back, y'all, to 1998. I'm telling you right now, what we can ill afford having somebody else in control of telling our story. And folks, this is just September. Trump has been there 8 months. This is going to be another 3 years and 4 months. Y'all might as well prepare for it. So what we have to do, remember that commercial, Protect This House? I think it was an Under Armour commercial. We got to protect this house. We have got to have an outlet that speaks to our issue, that is informing our people. And frankly, we got to have thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of our people watching this show every single day. because them silly-ass debates on CNN with Scott Jennings is a joke. Okay? What you're seeing, these other networks, it's a joke. And I'm telling y'all, it's a lot of stuff that's about to go down impacting black people. And if we are not prepared and informed and enlightened, but instead we're so focused on being entertained, we are going to have a serious problem. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. I'm telling you right now, dollars being put to use. We are covering the stuff that matters to our people. So if you want to contribute via Cash App, use Stripe QR code. See at the bottom right-hand corner. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Check some money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Download the Black Star Network app. Now, understand, let me explain to y'all. The reason I want you to watch our show on our YouTube channel, because we generate more revenue based upon the views. Come on, come to me. Thank you, come to me, thank you. Come on. We generate more money with the views on YouTube. But the reason I spend $160,000 a year on the app, and we do not make money on the app, but I spend that money every year in case Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Instagram says, no, we're not gonna run that show. That's why I want you to download the app. So we always have a place for our content to go, and we're not controlled by somebody else. Android phone, Apple TV, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version on Audible. Get our Black Star Network, Roland Martin Unfiltered swag. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Support the black-owned products you see to my right. We have all these products on shopblackstarnetwork.com. Also, I want every single one of you downloading Fanbase. Fanbase is a black-owned social media platform that allows for us to be able to speak freely. And so if Instagram decides to say, no, Raven, we're banning you, and trust me, they're doing that. It's not gonna happen on Fanbase. Y'all, I'm trying to tell y'all what's going on here. The ability to have audio rooms, video, all that sort of stuff on the app, they've done a whole new update. Those things have happened. Things have been cleaned up. I'm telling y'all, even these tech people are buckling to Donald Trump. They're bending the knee. The oligarchs, the people who got FU money, are scared of him. We cannot buckle to fascism. Download Fanbase and support it if you want to invest. StartEngine.com/Fanbase. Raven, thanks a bunch. Rebecca, thanks a bunch. Andrew, I appreciate you being on the show as well. Thank all three of you being on today's panel. I really appreciate it. Folks, that's it. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!